Season 9, Episode 17 of the Ubuntu podcast. It's Tuesday the 21st of June and we're going to discuss what's been happening in the news and in the community. My name is Mycroft and joining me this week is Mark. Hello Mark, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks.
Great. Also welcome Laura. How are you doing, Laura?
Hiya, I'm fine, thank you, Mycroft.
Excellent. Martin, how's tricks?
The tricks are good, thanks, Mycroft.
Good. Finally, there's some guy called Alan. Who's this loser?
That would be me. Thank you very much, Mycroft.
Fine. What have you been up to this week, Alan?
So this week I have been making nonsense. I made an Arduino thing, which is a keyboard. I made a 3-key keyboard.
You make it out of bananas?
No, I made it out of buttons and breadboard and wire and a teensy Arduino board, which is a small thing that you can solder connectors on, plug it into a breadboard or whatever, and it's got some data pins, and I use those input pins and turn those into keyboard key presses, which I plug into my USB port and use it to do next track, previous track, and stop, because my keyboard doesn't have those buttons.
Go you. I like that.
Yes, which is
amazing.
Ridiculous. It was good fun, quite entertaining, and I quite enjoyed doing it. But yes, that's what I spent my time doing.
Right.
Building assistive technology. Interesting concept, Alan. How about you, Laura? What have you been doing since we last met?
I realised that I've been at IBM for 13 years and probably a week and a half now.
Wow.
Which means I've known Alan nearly 13 years.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Oh my gosh. So do you get some kind of long service award at some point, or is that not until 25 or something?
I think it's 25. I got a pen at 10.
Oh, I didn't realise there were awards for being friends with Alan for numbers of years.
Oh, clever man. Oh dear. Yes. So, anything else you want to say about that?
Oh yeah, I built a robot arm.
Another one.
Something happened to your normal arm.
Yes. Just call me Skywalker. It was a Maplin kit. Somebody needed a robot arm building, so I offered to build it, and then I took it into work.
That poses a question. Who needed a robot arm building and for what?
Andy Stanford Clark needed a robot arm building. And he couldn't be bothered doing it, I think. And I offered to do it, to use for demos.
Lovely.
Okay. This isn't to automatically open the door of his house when he tweets it to say he's coming up the path or something.
I don't know what the demos are. So it's entirely possible.
I've just got an inappropriate episode of The Big Bang Theory going around in my mind at the moment about robot arms.
Yes, I think I've seen it.
Moving on.
Okay, that's enough of that. Time for a fun-packed show.
And now it's time for the news. Alan, what was the first thing that happened in the news this week?
So first up, Mycroft, who you may have heard of very recently, have announced version 0.7, which features a few things like responsive listening mode, which is allowing the system to respond to certain keywords. So you say, "Hey, Mycroft," and then it waits and then starts listening. So, you can trigger it to do stuff, or you can just blurt stuff straight out and say, "Hey, Mycroft," and then just carry on with the sentence, much like you can with Amazon Echo and Siri and all the others.
Yeah.
That just means that it now kind of listens all the time, and then when it picks up on you saying Mycroft, it carries on listening to you.
Yeah. It's actually funny looking at the logs, because I've run it on my laptop, and when you start running it, it starts 3 screen sessions, and in one of them it's got a log of, when it's listening and when it's not listening, and you can see it being completely idle, and then you say, "Hi, Mycroft," and it goes, "Oh," and then it says, starts recording, then it throws that at some speech-to-text engine, and you see the URL it sends, and then the reply is like a JSON string or a Python like dictionary or something, a piece of text, and in it is the piece of text that it gets from the third party that's doing the speech-to-text, and it's funny, you can just say anything to it and the text comes back accurate. It's really quite clever.
So Mycroft's an open source speech recognition thing.
It does
project.
Speech recognition and then does things with that speech. So you can get it to, turn your lights on and off, or launch programs on your desktop, or send an email to someone, or send a message, or...
It's also got, I think they call it an intent parser. So it tries to work out what it is that you're, not just what you're saying, but what you mean by what you're saying. And then it'll try and do something appropriate in response to that. And
it's hardware as well as software.
It can be. You can buy the Mycroft as a device. I mean, you don't have to, because the software is all on GitHub and you can grab it. And it's actually really easy to run. You just, git clone, and then there's one script that's in the directory to get all the build dependencies. There's another script to build it, and then a third one to start it. And then it's pretty much running. There's a couple of config things you could do, but the first thing I did was just say, "Hey, Mycroft, what's the weather?" And it tells me the weather, which the default location is the Mycroft office. But yeah, it works. It's really quite cool. There's loads of other stuff it has. It also, unfortunately, has my voice in it, which is what you heard earlier.
Not just your voice, but your voice as the default voice.
Yes, mine's the default voice. Yes. There are other voices available, and you can try those out as well.
How do you feel about being immortalised in an artificial intelligence device?
Well, I thought it'd be a bit of a laugh.
Alan Pope, the voice of Skynet.
Yeah,
it's a bit weird. But,
They've got a thing on the website, a page on the website that's about, what's it called? It's the rights and responsibilities of artificial intelligences.
Oh. Well, that's a bit deep.
Yeah. So
I should probably have read that.
Yeah, you should probably have read that. I can't find it now. But yeah.
That's Mycroft. You can get it on GitHub. Go and get it.
So next up is the obvious big news of the week. If you've been following the blogosphere, you can't have failed to have noticed this. Yes, it's been the GTK Hackfest in Toronto, Canada this week. And Canonical's Alison Lawty has written why GTK4 is not GTK4 and why GTK5 is not GTK5, and that's okay.
What does that even mean?
Well, what this boils down to is that GTK3 has been an unstable, constantly in development API. And while the GNOME and GTK developers have tried to maintain some kind of stability in the API, that has not always been possible. And there have been some other projects that rely on GTK3, have tried to move to GTK3 and have bumped into problems along the way, and it's been a bit of a bumpy road. So what this is about is there was always this idea that GNOME 4 and GTK4 would be the stable version, and that's the version that then all of the big projects can start to target. But what they're actually proposing here is that GTK 4.0 will not be the stable API. Something like GTK 3.26 in 18 months or so from now will be the stable version of the GTK 3 API. Starting with GTK 4.0, all bets are off. It will be a churn and a changing API until they get to about GTK 4.6, and that will then be the stable release of GTK 4.6. And then GTK 5.0 will come out, and that will then be an iterative, they can't guarantee API or ABI compatibility until about GTK 5.6 comes out. So you're going to have these sort of releases every 18 months, which application developers can target for a stable, unchanging API. And then if you're on the bleeding edge, you can track the progress of the 4 series or the 5 series.
So this is kind of basically what the reality's been with GTK2 and GTK3. They're just formalising it now going forward. Is that right?
But from somebody who has been sort of impacted by the ever-changing landscape of GTK3, I'm really pleased to see this. And actually, those people that are application developers, I've only seen good things. There were a few dissenting voices because, you know, it's the internet and people always jump to the obvious, which is, well, you know how it is. But this is great because now we know that GTK 3.26 is going to be the stable version. We can target that, and we know that's going to be golden for like 18 months. And for a small team like ours, you may be aware that I work with a desktop environment that will not be named, that's borderline popular. And we now can have a window of development, and we know for 18 months we can target an API and we can refine what we're working on for 18 months, and then we can move to the new thing. And for our small team with our limited resources, this suits us just fine. And I'm hopeful that other projects like Inkscape and GIMP and what have you can then start to, with GTK 3.26, when that is the version of GTK 3, we can start to see some of these bigger, more important desktop applications start to move.
Neat.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Cool. What's up next, Mark?
Fedora 24 has been released, featuring such delights as GNOME 3.20, which has better settings than it used to.
Anything else?
Flatpak, which is formerly XDG app, which is a containerized application packaging format, much like another containerized packaging format, which we'll be talking about shortly. They don't have Wayland yet.
Was that someone's prediction this year?
It was to do with one of my predictions.
That's a shame.
But you did all tell me that Fedora already had Wayland, and I said not yet, and I was right on that account anyway.
Yes, you're smugly correct on that front.
Yeah, or they've now said it might be default for 25, so we'll see. And on the server, they have OpenShift Origin, which is the Red Hat platform as a service type thing.
In isolation, I was excited by that. I thought that was some sort of driving game, but...
Anyone tried it yet?
No.
No,
I haven't either.
If you've tried Fedora 24,
yes.
email fedorapodcast.org.
I have a machine that has Fedora 23 on it, so I will upgrade when I next turn that laptop on, which will be soon.
And in beta news, we've got Elementary 0.4 Lucky has been released. Is that Elementary OS?
Yep.
And there's a beta of Linux Mint and Mate editions, of course, which always seems to have lots of betas. So they're all in beta. Try them.
Yes.
Yay. So this is the effect of Ubuntu 16.04 having been released, and now all of the derivatives and build upon Ubuntu OSs are now releasing their next wares.
Is Mint still built on Ubuntu? I thought they'd started building on Debian.
So they have another strand called LMDE, which is the Linux Mint Debian edition.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure that just comes with the Mate desktop rather than having the Cinnamon option. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that just comes with Mate. And then, of course, they have Linux Mint 18, and the first two releases are always Cinnamon and Mate. And then following that, we'll then see Linux Mint 18, XFCE and KDE in about a month after the final releases of the Cinnamon and Mate versions.
So I tried out the Elementary beta in a VM. It seemed quite pretty. And obviously being a beta, you know, it's not a full review, and I've only played with it in a VM and not on real hardware and stuff. But it seemed pretty once you get to the desktop. I found it quite slow to install and quite slow to boot up, and lots of flickering text during the boot up process, and that could have been due to the fact that I'm running it in a VM and not bare metal. But once you get to the desktop, it looks really nice, really pretty. I'm still not a big fan of the big fat title bars on Windows that you get in GTK these days.
The header bars.
Yeah, I just can't get on with them. They just feel like, I don't know, I feel like OS2, but in a bad way.
OS2 is never like, OS2 is glorious.
I thought that might trigger you. Sorry, trigger warning for OS2 fans.
Boys.
Yeah. Yeah, so it bodes well because that's their main, their main shtick is it's pretty and there's an app store in there which is their own app store, and I thought it was a bit strange because they don't by default allow. Well, they don't make it easy to install PPAs, so I think they want to go their own route with app deployment on Elementary. I don't know if that's a final thing or what.
When you say they don't make it easy, do you mean they make it difficult? Because
well, the actual, so how would you install a PPA on a normal Ubuntu based system? You'd run
use add apt repository,
right? Well, that's not installed.
Right.
So
okay.
that's the stumbling block. So it's not a massive deal, but it's a sign of discouragement to me that they don't want you to install PPAs on it. I don't know if that's a final thing or just in the beta, but I found that interesting.
Elementary for some time have tried to sort of distance themselves from Ubuntu, despite being squarely based on Ubuntu. They do want to have their own identity. And I think that this is a technological expression of that intent.
Yeah. I suppose PPAs are a very Ubuntu thing, aren't they?
Yeah. So, let us know if you've tried either Elementary Loki or Loki or Linux Mint 18. Let us know how you got on and what was good, what was bad, all that kind of good stuff. In other distro news, a surprise to some, Canonical announced that snaps can now be installed on a variety of distributions, not just Ubuntu. So Arch, Debian, Fedora, and all the Ubuntu flavors can now potentially install Snappy and install Snap packages.
Cool.
It was quite a surprise.
This was doing the rounds like wildfire on the tech news outlets.
It was a bit.
It was really easy to find news about Snap packages this week and really difficult to find news about anything else.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, it was a bit of a PR push. They had press calls and, pushed out news articles and all that kind of stuff and launched a new website. So if you want to find out anything about Snappy and Snapcraft, the place to go is snapcraft.io. That's the main website, and that's got, a brief overview and introduction to what Snappy and Snapcraft is, but we'll talk more about that in the next show, I think.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. Ethereum is an open blockchain platform that has suffered an attack. A vulnerability in the system has allowed an attacker to split the blockchain. Oh, that's bad. I know enough about the blockchain to know that's a bad thing. And start draining ether from the system's equivalent of bitcoins. I also understand that's a bad thing.
The fluency with which you're giving this news is just like, you're just so knowledgeable.
I've not just read this for the first time, isn't it?
Well, it's not that,
it's like you'd heard of Ethereum before half an hour ago.
I know, it's uncanny. The proposed solution is to release a fork of the system which invalidates the attacker's transactions before they're able to withdraw their ill-gotten gains. So what is Ethereum? I know what the blockchain is and I know what Bitcoin is. How does this relate to that?
So as I understand it, it's essentially... whereas Bitcoin is like a blockchain for recording transactions of people moving around Bitcoins. This is for recording transactions of whatever app developers want to record. So that can be people doing their own cryptocurrencies, or if they want some sort of distributed ledger for, transactions within their app or something else. We were discussing briefly before the show, like you could have a game where you could, like your... like the items that you collect in a multiplayer game or the battles you win, they could be part of a distributed record which uses a blockchain to do that. So it's basically like an open platform for stuff using blockchains.
And it's been hailed by a lot of people as, a great idea, a great platform, well implemented up until the other day when they were under attack. But it seems they're confident they can recover from this. There's a couple of links we'll put in the show notes that there's an Ethereum subreddit where a lot of discussion goes on, and there's a really nice starter guide for like everything you ever wanted to know about Ethereum. There's a couple of BBC articles and a few other links. It's quite interesting, and there's a couple of guys at Canonical who rave about it and talk about it as a way to store, data for games and things like that, which seems interesting. So we'll have to see.
Doesn't it mean you've made it if you get hacked? Somebody's thought you were worth hacking.
Yeah, I think all of these crypto things people target. I don't know if it's they want to, break it up, or just because they can, or they have some competitor that, they would rather people were using. I don't know. But, yeah. As soon as you get your head slightly above, the parapet, people start firing at it. Is that all of the news?
I think so.
I think so. And now it's time for some community news and events. First off, in the community news this week, we have Snapd 2.8.0 has been released.
Or 2.0.8.
Yes, 2.0.8. What does that have in it?
Lots of interfaces.
Interfaces?
Yes.
Is this a snappy type term?
Yeah,
interfaces?
so within the Snapcraft files, they're referred to plugs, and then they're in human speak known as interfaces, and these are things that you can enable. So if you think about Android and Ubuntu Touch, when you install something and it requests access to a particular facility of your operating system, like your camera or whatever, interfaces are the unconfining of your application to give it access to particular services on your local machine. And those have been quite significantly expanded now.
So we were talking, I think, the other week about how there's like one of these for Unity 7.
Yes.
If you want to be able to hook into Unity 7's like indicators and stuff.
Yeah.
So these are things for other desktop interfaces.
Yeah, so there's now some for firewall control, there's some for system observation and network observation, there are some specifically for G settings, to talk to G settings on your desktop environment and stuff like that. So they're adding the interfaces that you need for complex desktop applications to talk to the host.
Oh.
What's next?
Zoltan Baloff, I'm going to say that, has put out a call for testing on the next version of the Ubuntu SDK.
So Zoltan and Benjamin Zeller are the two guys who mostly work on the Ubuntu SDK, which is based on Qt Creator, and you can use for developing your QML, HTML5, C++ applications for phone and desktop, your converged applications, if you like. So many of the apps on the phone are developed in the SDK, and they've been wrestling with some decisions that were made, a couple of years ago, and they're kind of fighting with those technical problems that are born out of those. And so they've kind of rebooted a bit the SDK and implemented things a bit differently. So previously, if you're on a desktop, which is got an Intel CPU, and you wanted to build a binary for the phone, which is an ARM platform, you would use what are called cheroots, and the Qt Creator has a bunch of plugins that will create those cheroots and manage the build process inside the cheroot, so you end up with an ARM binary on your Intel machine that you can push down to the phone and test it. And it was a little bit fragile, and it could break now and then. So Zoltan and the SDK guys have been working hard to implement a different way of doing things, and they now use LXD for that, and they're calling for testers to test that stuff out.
And has anything significant changed in the SDK in terms of the implementation, or is this just making the development workflow more robust? I say just.
Yeah,
sounds like a big undertaking.
They rev the version of Qt Creator every so often, and rebase it on the new version of Qt or whatever. But the main thing here is the is the fact that it's switching to LXD rather than cheroots. And this is a blessing because LXD is so fast and so lovely, and cheroots are horrid. I having used them, like right now, if I type mount on my system, I've got all these cheroots still mounted from like days ago when I built something. It just leaves all stuff behind, and LXD is a lot cleaner and tidier. So that's good news.
Next up.
Oh, sorry.
Go on, Martin.
All right, I'm going to have a go at this. Svetlana Belkin from the Ubuntu Community Council announced a call for nominations to the Ubuntu Membership Board. What does that mean?
Are these the people who decide who gets to be an Ubuntu member?
Yes.
Ah, right.
Oh, who here is an Ubuntu member?
Me. And I'm on the membership board.
Ooh.
So
I'm not, but I think I should apply.
Yeah,
I was just going to say that. I wasn't sure if you already were.
So the membership boards sit once a month on a particular Wednesday and on a particular Thursday of the month, like third Wednesday, first Thursday or something like that. Sit on IRC, and people who've been contributing to Ubuntu for a while and want to apply for membership, which gives them things like voting rights and a few other niceties like an Ubuntu email address and recognition of what they've done, can come along, show off their Launchpad account, show off their forums account, show off all these other things. And the Ubuntu membership board either approves or disapproves or recommends ways in which they can improve their contributions. And a bunch of us on the membership board are expiring because you expire after a certain period of time.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
It's like AI
It's
all
okay.
over again.
I'm still alive.
It's okay. There is a Mycroft coming. It's all fine.
My replacement has been found. And so it's a call for nominations for people who want to sit on the membership board. It's quite easy. There's not a huge amount of work.
I assume you already have to be an Ubuntu member.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So that's good. Go to the link in the show notes to find out more.
Cool.
And Jonathan Riddell has announced the availability of ISO images to test KDE Neon 5.7 from the Git stable branch.
Yeah, tried this out today as well.
Is this based on 1604?
Yes, I think so. Well, I guess so. I don't know. But I was interested to go to the website, and they've got a nice split down the screen, which is kind of users go this way. These are more stable images, and developers go that way. These are, here be dragons, potentially, dangerous because it's built from, more recent, not necessarily tested Git commits. Which is a nice way to do it, to actually point people and say, if you're a user, go this way. If you're a developer, go this way. I installed it in a VirtualBox. It looks quite nice. Yeah.
Is it, have they sort of started packaging more now than just the desktop?
Yeah, they started adding more of the KDE packages from, bleeding edge packages. I haven't had a chance to test out all the packages. I've only just got the desktop install done, but I'll have a play with more as time goes on.
Whenever I test KDE, I get to the desktop and I think, oh, it looks so nice, and then I sort of stare at the screen and going, I don't know what to do.
What you need to do is give yourself 2 days to just configure everything.
I just don't have 2 days of spare time to invest that. I just look at it and go, well, it looks very pretty, but I don't know what to do with it.
Daniel Holbach announced the third Snappy Playpen, which was today.
Yes, as we record this, yeah. These have been.
What is it?
These have been super successful. The idea was we have a GitHub repo called Snappy Playpen, and in there we put the configurations that you might use to create snaps. So if you're an upstream developer, you can learn how to make snaps by going and looking at the examples that we put in there. And we thought we'd have Snappy Playpen days every Tuesday where people can come along and know that we'll be around to answer their questions and help them get their stuff packaged and help them figure out any issues and find bugs in Snappy.
And there's also been a theme to these playpens as well, hasn't there? So today's theme was mostly around Atom and Atom style applications.
Electron style.
Electron, yes, sorry.
And server apps as well, because we wanted to say, it's not just about desktop apps, it might, and not just about like GTK apps or KDE apps. There are other flavors of applications that you might want to package, including those that are made with Electron, like Atom and Slack, and those that are made with, like command line server applications or daemons and things like that. And we wanted to encourage people to come along and, we'd answer their questions. And it's good because it's uncovered bugs in Snappy, which have been fixed in like the announcement earlier where we talked about Snapd. Some of those fixes are directly as a result of people trying to package stuff like last week and the week before. So it's a worthwhile thing. And we use Gitter, which is gitter.im, which is like Slack, like Mattermost. It's like a web-based chat thing, but it's very tied into Git. So if someone mentions a pull request, you put your mouse over it, you click on it, and it takes you straight to GitHub, and it's got some nice little integrations with GitHub. It's really quite a nice little thing. It's also nice that you can close it when you don't want to get any more notifications of the chat, which is good.
I've been using Franz as my Gitter interface because Franz supports Telegram and HipChat and a whole heap of other stuff. So I have now got, it's like the pigeon for the 21st century. So I've now got all of my modern day chat applications all inside Franz.
But wasn't HipChat everything inside HipChat?
Yeah, so I use HipChat for my development stuff, and Gitter and HipChat and Slack and Mattermost are all of the same ilk.
Awesome. What's next?
Canonical design team have had a cute day. I think that's really sweet.
Oh, that's nice. Were they bunny rabbits and biscuits?
I think so. I hope so. Kittens.
Yes.
Developing Ubuntu convergent apps with Qt.
Yes, this is a member of the design team, Andrea, who went to a Qt day in Italy, and he wrote a talk about developing convergent apps, and he's written a blog post about the Qt day, his experience, and his talk. So that's worth looking at if you're interested in developing Qt apps.
And last up, I found a new podcast that's been running forever. It's the Changelog podcast, which is all about open source. And in episode 207, which at the time of recording is the most current episode, it's entitled Ubuntu Everywhere with Canonical's Dustin Kirkland. And it's a discussion with Dustin about Ubuntu, and it includes the rise of Ubuntu and Ubuntu being everywhere and the collaboration with Microsoft to bring Bash to Windows and what can be expected from the future. So listening to this, you probably like a podcast or two, so you might want to add that to your podcast catcher and have a listen to that one.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of that one either. Cool. Is that the end of our community news?
I believe it is.
Super.
We love getting your feedback, so please send it to us. Even the pointlessly mean stuff makes us laugh. If it's short, tweet us on @Ubuntu Podcast. If it's less short, but please no essays, email us on show@ubuntupodcast.org. If you'd like to discuss some of the things we talk about with other listeners, post on our Shiny News subreddit at reddit.com/r/Ubuntu Podcast. Or you can just leave a comment on the relevant show notes on our website, ubuntupodcast.org.
That's all for episode 17. We'll be back next week when we'll be discussing Snappy and bring you some command line love.
Thanks, Mycroft.
Yeah, thanks, Mycroft. Yeah, just so we're clear, we're not using that every week.
Bye, Mycroft.
Yes, bye, Mycroft.
Bye.
We'll see you
all
put him back in his box.
See you next week.
See you next week.
Bye, everyone.
Without the artificial
Bye.
intelligence. Bye.
Yes.
Stop recording.